Hello, I'm Linda Ann Smith, video creator for colorart.com. I wouldn't say cards are my expertise, but it's always fun to try something new. The materials I used are Strathmore watercolor block, Twinkling H2Os, a rubber stamp, stamp pad and stick glue pad, and embossing powder. I enjoy using watercolor blocks because you don't have to tape them down to any surface or get the watercolor paper ready. It's in a block already, 15 sheets of this, and it's 9 inches by 12 inches. You can get it in other sizes, but this is a convenient size to carry with me when I want to go out and do watercolors on location. See, the edges are all sealed except one tiny area right on the top is not sealed. This is cold pressed paper, 140 pounds. I find an awful lot of bargains at the thrift store here that's the Habitat for Humanity store called Restore, and they just had bunches of rubber stamps, and I didn't have a lot of rubber stamps, but boy did I stock up because they were very inexpensive. I'm pretty new at this. I don't consider myself a card maker at all, but I'm using the palette stamp and stick glue pad to use as an adhesive for my embossing powder. And one of the things that I'm going to do before I get started is use a dryer sheet, fabric softener sheet, over the surface of the paper. This will cause it not to be so staticky, and of course it's winter time, so everything's staticky. And I'll rub this across the surface of the paper to kind of help it release any powder that is not supposed to stick. Now I'm placing this on the right hand side. Look at this, $2 for this stamp. That was not bad at all. I'm placing this on the right side of my paper because when I fold the paper up, the right side will be the front of the card. I can always trim this card down later. I don't think I want it this large, so I can always trim it later. And I don't think you can see that, but it's there. I can see it if I turn it just right. This is holographic embossing powder that is by Ranger. I bought this at Hobby Lobby. I'm sprinkling this across the lines of the glove print that you can't see. It looks invisible, but it's there, and you'll see it when I shake it off. This should adhere, if I got ink everywhere, it should adhere to the, there it goes. It did. I think you can see it now. Have a little Michael Jackson glove here. I'm catching the excess on a sheet of paper below so that I can pour it back into the jar and use it again. I thought the dryer sheet was supposed to take care of everything, but there are a few little sprinkles around, and I'm using a very soft fan brush, a soft bristled fan brush, to remove those, just kind of sweeping it off and letting it go onto that paper below. This reminds me of using glitter with my grandmother when I was a kid. Did she ever love glitter? We glittered everything. The fondest memories I have of doing crafts with my grandmother when I was a child involved either glitter or plaster of Paris or old wallpaper rolls that we used the backs of to make art. Here I'm using my embossing heat tool to set the embossing powder. It has an adhesive and then the embossing powder, and then you use the heat from the embossing tool to heat it. The heat gun melts the little tiny particles and bonds them together. I decided I wanted to do a decoration inside this glove, so this is the Ranger embossing pen, and all you have to do with it, instead of using the adhesive out of the pad, stamp pad style, all you do with this is just draw. So I'm carefully drawing a heart, and then I will sprinkle the embossing powder over that. But I think I'll use a different color this time. I'll shake this sparkly blue embossing powder over the heart and let it adhere. This is called Zing embossing powder by the American Crafts brand. I'll shake this onto the paper behind. Wow, that's pretty. That ink pen, the embossing pen, really gives a nice crisp line. And the holographic white powder that I used before is hanging on to some of that blue. I like that effect. I'll go over that with the heat gun too. I believe technically it's called an embossing heat tool, not a heat gun, but I think you know what I mean. I have the sweetest little Manx cat who loves to play tricks, and he can turn on the water on the faucet in the kitchen sink and knocks things off of the tops of the cabinets and all kinds of things. I think he aspires to be an artist because he loves my art supplies. Throws them all over the house. He seems to be able to manipulate a lot of things when I'm not home. So I'm saying this, I'm bringing this up because the embossing heat tool, if he turned that on while I was gone, that could be a disaster. So I always keep it unplugged. I'm sure you see that I was working with my Ranger embossing pen again to put a little greeting on there and to make another little heart. And this particular embossing powder is called Scentz, S-E-N-T-Z, from Colorbox. It has a scent to it that smells like peppermint. It smells really good. The scent was readily apparent when I was heating it, but once it was dry, I couldn't smell it anymore. The next step's probably always going to be my favorite part, and that is playing with the Twinkling H2Os. They're shimmering watercolors. You always want to add a little water to them at least 5 minutes before you're going to work with them. These have been sitting for longer than that, so they're really ready to go. This set that I'm using, I'll list the colors, all the colors below in the description box, but the set that I'm using is the 12-piece Tropical Kaleidoscope. This 12-piece Tropical Kaleidoscope set has some of the most beautiful colors in it. They're like jewels. And of course, all of Color Art's paints are shimmering paints, so they have mica in them, and that makes it even more special. Those raised embossed lines do resist the paint, but even if they didn't, they make divisions between the areas so that you can paint one color around another color without them bleeding together. The first color I painted with, the glove color that's on there now, is called Sky Blue, but I'm switching to Ocean Wave now. It's darker, and I'm going to go in and work on some of the details of the glove with this. I'll paint around the glove, and then I'll paint the back of the card too. The next color I'm going to pull out of my kit is Key Lime, and I'll surround that little heart with this Key Lime color. It's a brilliant color, almost neon, with like some little hints of gold in it. This pink azalea is just irresistible. Love the way it looks. I'm not quite sure exactly where I want to go with this, so I'm just going to start painting and see. Now I'm working in a little bougainvillea, which is a red-violet color. This combination of warm colors in the background makes that blue glove, which is a cool color, really pop. While this color is still wet, I'll add some more of the warm colors, including yellow rose, orange peel, and persimmon. That orange peel, oh, it looks good enough to eat. It's just gorgeous. Orange peel has the most beautiful red shimmer to it. And then I'll also be adding this sunflower color, which is a nice golden yellow color. Anytime you paint wet paint into wet paint, called wet in wet technique, then you're going to get nice soft edges that blend together. I really like that crisp line around the edge of the heart, so I'm coming back after this is completely dry. I'm coming back with my embossing pen and outlining the entire glove. And when I finish this, I'm going to get out that blue embossing powder again and sprinkle it over this line and then heat emboss. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping this doesn't stick to the background when I shake it off. And I'm safe. Everything looks good. Well, for a first card, this isn't bad, and I tried some experiments and played with it, so I'm getting to know my embossing tools and how they work a little bit. You can't go wrong when you're working with the Twinkling H2Os. They always look pretty. When it's time to release the card from the rest of the block, you just go to the top and look for the little area that's not glued. You slip a knife in there and run it all the way around the edges of the paper, and you'll release this painting from the rest of the block, and you'll have another sheet ready to go for your next project. I used my paper cutter to crop off the edges of the paper and make it a better size. But I just felt like something was missing, so I went inside and used the same type of processes to make a heart inside. And finally, I took the pieces of paper that I cut away to make the card smaller and glued stripes of those paper to the inside to give it a little bit more embellishment. Now I feel like it looks complete. You could substitute any stamp in place of the glove that I used and make your own card. I post videos for Color Art's YouTube channel twice a month, usually on a Tuesday. I try to post videos to my own channel at least once a week, so subscribe to us both. I'll put both links in the description box below. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching.